Apple just recently finished their September of 2020 event where they announced a whole bunch of exciting stuff. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is the new standard iPad, the 8th generation. Is this new iPad one of the best budget computers that you're ever gonna find? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I'm a gigantic fan of iPads. You probably know that by now if you've watched this channel for any amount of time. I love iPads. Yesterday, we talked about the iPad Air, which has shattered my mind. I think that's going to be one of the most exciting, most powerful computers that's going to be on the market. But they also updated the iPad, which I also really like. I've been using my iPad 7th generation for a very long time. I use that around the channel. I've used it around the studio here for ever. It used to be one of my primary computers before I got my iPad Pro. So today, let's check it out. So the biggest update to the iPad that you can see right here, they went to the A12 Bionic chip. This is, the iPad here is more of a budget option, so you're not gonna get all of the bells and the whistles of like the iPad Air, the iPad Pro. You can see right from here, we still have a more standard iPad design. We got the big bezels, we got the Touch ID home button, which I very much like. But the big selling point this year is the A12 Bionic chip. What else do we have here? We can kick some serious tasks. That's pretty dangerous. That's pretty dangerous talk there, Apple. So let's check out the tech specs of what we got in the new iPad. So we do get silver, space gray, gold. Hooray, the exciting colors. You gotta go with the Air if you want the exciting colors. We can do 32 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes. Makes sense, that's very similar to what we had last year with the 7th generation. I don't think the size or the weight dimensions are any different. You can see we still have the smart connector, so you can use things like the smart keyboard. We have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which I think if you're gonna do a lot of web conferencing, the iPad standard is really good because even my iPad Pro, like no headphone jack on here. I gotta have a dongle or use Bluetooth headphones, and sometimes I just wanna use a regular headphone. Very good here. We got stereo speakers, on-off, lightning connector. One of the negatives about the iPad is lightning. I would like this so much more. You could keep everything else. The A12, the bezels, everything, just give me USB-C. That's the one thing that I would want out of this. You still get dual microphones. In the box, one of the things I was curious about, Apple mentioned that they're gonna start a new environmental thing where they're carbon neutral by 2030, and they're gonna start cutting out some chargers from products like the new Apple Watch. Looks like here, though, you'll continue to get your USB-C cable and your power adapter. The display, it's the same display as we saw last year, 10.2-inch Retina display. It's a beautiful display, 500 nits of brightness, fingerprint resistant. Okay. Resistance in this list, that could be open for interpretation, right? Resistant. And it supports Apple Pencil 1st generation. I mean, any generation of Apple Pencil, I don't really use. Chip, we've got the A12 Bionic chip. You can see the camera stuff. You're not gonna buy the iPad standard for the camera, but it is nice to know that it will do 1080p recording from the rear camera. Looks like you do get a little bit of slow motion. The front camera will be the 720 HD that you'll see on basically all of the MacBooks and the iMacs, except for the new iMac that has a 1080p camera. It'll do FaceTime video, nothing too wild. I do want to talk a little bit more. So the A12 processor is, now when Apple builds a chip, it's not just one processor like you may see on like a PC build video. They call it the systems of chips. So there's like the CPU, the GPU, all of it's built around this like system. So the A12 has a 6-core CPU running at 2.4 gigahertz. It also has a 4-core GPU, which really helps if you're watching video, you're rendering video, or you're processing photos, or any of those kind of things. So you can see all the specs right here, but it is a 7-nanometer chip, which is, even as like an older chip, like even as an old, there are computer systems right now. Like there are computer systems right now that are just switching to 7 nanometers, and Apple's already moving on to 5 nanometers in like the iPad Air. This stuff is crazy. This is crazy powerful. So what are some other things that they say we can do? Yes, like I said, you can continue to use the smart keyboard with it. I really like the smart keyboard. The only reason I don't use it anymore, obviously the Magic Keyboard exists, and it used to drive my wife crazy when I would type on it. Like she does not like the sound of the typing. I don't mind it. I actually quite like it. We'll get Apple, like I said, we have Apple Pencil support. Shoot from the hip. What do we got? What are some other cool things before we move on to the, I mean, a lot of this, honestly, there hasn't been that much updated in the iPad. I still think it will be crazy powerful, and I'm excited to get it in here, but let's check out our purchasing options. So, yep, space gray, silver, gold. Hooray, space gray. Let's see here, 32 gigabyte or, no, go back. 32 gigabyte will run us $329, going to 128 gigabytes will be $100 more. If you're not trying to save every single penny, I would probably go with the 128 gigabyte option. It gives you much more flexibility. 32 gigabyte, It's kind of slim unless you're only going to be using it for like content consumption, maybe some iMessaging. But even then, if you're going to send pictures or something, that's going to fill up fast. I would recommend the 128 gigabyte, but we'll stick with 32 for now. Connectivity, you can do Wi-Fi at 329 or Wi-Fi plus cellular at 459. And if we max this all the way out, it will be 559, which for a powerful iPad pack in these kind of specs, that's not a bad price. It's not a bad price. So let's add this to bag, and then let's see if we're gonna buy like a whole system. We want the pencil. Okay, let's add some accessories to see how much we got. So we got the pencil, we've got the smart keyboard. Let's go, let's see how much that's actually gonna run us, because it's never, you can just buy these by themselves, but you're gonna want some accessories. Like that's what gets the iPad really to a point where if you wanna use this for productivity, scheduling, stuff like that, you really need just some key accessories. So let's see. So we've got the spec'd out 10.2 with the pencil and the smart keyboard, and that runs us $866. Now that is pretty expensive. So let's remove this. If we're going bare bones, but we still want the pencil and the keyboard, let's see how much that costs. We'll do silver this time. Silver, 32 gigabyte Wi-Fi, no engraving. Add it to the cart. Okay, let's check out it said cart, but now it says bag. Confusing, Apple. Okay, so this is $622. Now that is expensive. We have almost doubled our price going with the pencil and the keyboard. So that's one of the trade-offs. If you're gonna buy the cheaper iPad, the accessories become like a more expensive purchase by percentages. I still think for $600, this is a fantastic deal. You're not gonna find very many other options out there, whether it be tablet or laptop that has this kind of power, this kind of size, this kind of ease of use, and this kind of access and capabilities to a whole ecosystem of like all the Apple products that you see right here, except my watch. I run, so I never have my watch here because it's got to charge after I run every day. But you get access to all of this stuff, and it's not that expensive. But what do you guys think? Are you guys planning on getting the iPad Generation 8, or are you going to get the iPad Air? If you're going to get the iPad Generation 8, what are some of the things that you are most excited about? Leave me another comment down below. I'd love to talk to you guys. I love talking iPads. iPads are my favorite thing ever, so I would love to talk. And if you want to see how last year's iPad 7 stood up against like the iPad Pro, here's a video that shows you all about it. Conveniently, the Everyday Dad had a plan to show you another video that you should definitely watch. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.